Well, two cabinet members from the Trump administration were in Los Angeles today to talk homelessness and addiction. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and HUD Secretary Scott Turner calling out what they call the state's failed policies. Today's event was held at the nonprofit Dream Center in Echo Park.
And NBC4's Conan Nolan was there. He joins us now with more on what went down. Conan.
So that's right. The Dream Center, a lot of people know about it. It's been here for 30 years. A massive facility. It deals with those who are facing drug abuse, drug issues, mental illness issues, poverty, homelessness. And it is a faith-based organization. And that's the key. That's the reason why not one, but two cabinet secretaries for the Trump administration were here for this event. Of course, it was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who was the marquee person. He talked about the importance for his administration to reinvigorate, again, faith-based institutions that are doing well in the homeless sector. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be denied federal funding because of their religious affiliation. But the news was made by Scott Turner, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He went after LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, which for years was the umbrella group to deal with the homeless issue in LA County and LA City. Today, the Secretary said that all federal funding is going to be stopped for LAHSA, including $200 million for what's called the continuum of care. He says that's because of a number of issues raised, including problems with fraud. The County of Los Angeles even pulled its funding from LAHSA last year. There was an executive director who had to leave as a result of a conflict over engaging in possibly illegal activities with a family member. This was the Secretary of HUD just a little while ago.
LAHSA could not verify the existence of 2,300 housing units that it was responsible for. In August of 2023, LAHSA could not even determine whether they used funding to pay for empty hotel rooms because it failed to record when individuals exited motel housing. The very organization tasked with ending homelessness and equipped with billions of dollars shamelessly wasted them on corruption and mismanagement.
It's something that should have been done under Xavier Becerra, but he didn't. He let the people steal the money.
Now, Robert F. Kennedy went after Xavier Becerra, the former Secretary of Health and Human Services and, of course, candidate for governor of California, saying that he allowed for there to be fraud within HHS, speaking specifically about hospice cases where people and hospice agencies were funded when they turned out to be completely fabricated. He said that HHS stopped that kind of funding when Mr. Kennedy became secretary. The Becerra campaign has said, and Xavier Becerra's in the past, said, listen, that was a problem before he became HHS secretary under Joe Biden, and that they addressed the fraud problem. But in any case, this was part policy, this visit, but also this close to the election in November, it was part politics as well. Reporting live from Echo Park, I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News. Back to you.
Conan, thank you. Voters in 6 states are making their choices known today in primaries. We're talking about Wisconsin, Minnesota, Vermont, Connecticut, South Carolina, and Alabama. As NBC's Gary Grumbach reports, the races pit progressives versus established candidates, veterans against newcomers, in one case, young versus old.
Americans head to the polls today in several states, with the Democratic Party's ideological divide on full display. In Wisconsin, a major swing state, the leading candidates for governor are working to convince the still undecided voters.
I've taken on Donald Trump,
and I'll tax the rich.
On the far left, State Representative Francesca Hong, a Democratic socialist. Polls show her in the lead, but past calls to defund and abolish the police have remained an issue during her campaign. She's begun to back away from some of her controversial stances and embrace policies with broader support, like universal child care and health care.
Change can be scary, but when I get scared, I look to the voters who remind me every day that not only are we deserving of change, but they get to be a part of making that change.
At the center left is David Crowley. He's the Milwaukee County executive. He actually dropped out of the race due to low polling, but then jumped back in, and now has the endorsement of the state's popular Democratic governor.
And the fact that I'm the only candidate with executive and governing experience, and I'll be ready on day one.
Both candidates say no matter who wins, they will coalesce behind the Democratic nominee. Progressives face a test in Minnesota, too, where Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan faces moderate Congresswoman Angie Craig, both vying to be the state's next senator, replacing the retiring Tina Smith. While in South Carolina, President Trump's influence will be put to the test in a special election to fill the late Lindsey Graham Senate seat. 9 candidates have jumped into that race, including 2 members of Congress, a former governor, and Graham's sister, who was chosen to serve out her brother's term. Graham says despite being a newcomer to national politics, she can do the job.
I think I have some really good experience. I've worked for 30 years for the state of South Carolina.
President Trump has thrown his, quote, complete and total support behind her. But that's not enough for some voters.
I don't vote for someone unless I know what they are and what they're about. She has no track record.
I mean, I like President Trump, but I don't think that that's necessarily what sways my vote.
Vermont is also holding primaries today, as is Connecticut, where 78-year-old Congressman John Larson is hoping to secure his 15th term representing Connecticut's 1st District. His opponent, 47-year-old former Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin, says it's time for generational change in that contest. Gary Grumbach, NBC News, Washington.
We have new details about the stealth flight that took President Trump out of Turkey last month. NBC News has confirmed the president secretly flew out of the NATO summit on an alternate military aircraft. And while that was happening, the White House made it appear he was flying on Air Force One as usual. The president did board Air Force One, but was then secretly shuttled to another plane on an airport catering truck. The operation was said to be prompted by an Iranian assassination threat against the president.